Canon 10 to 18 millimeter lens. Hey, what's up everybody? My name's Tobias Mugg from Lit Video Productions. We make epic videos for epic companies, and today I want to talk about the Canon 10 to 18 millimeter lens, the EFS Canon 10 to 18 millimeter lens at that. Let's just talk a little bit about this. This is an overall review. I've had this lens now for about 4 months and I've used it probably on about 5 or 6 different gigs. So let's go ahead and let's check out some of the footage. So let's go ahead and just jump right into some of the pros and cons of me using this lens. So there's one thing though, let's just talk about let's go over the basics. Let's try that again. So going over the basic stats of this lens. It's from Canon's EFS line of lenses. It has a built-in image stabilizer. It has autofocus. It has the STM motor for the autofocus, in fact. It is a macro at 0.22 millimeters or 0.7 feet, so under a foot away you can get focus on this thing. Basically at the end of the day, that means you can get focus a little less than a foot away, which is pretty nice to have. Okay, so let's go ahead and just talk about why I got this lens and why I picked it up. So I'm actually using this lens on a Canon C200 with a gimbal, and the three together are giving me the ability to go ahead and knock out some real estate tours, which is why I picked up this lens in the first place. During lockdown, I was approached by a realtor that they needed a real estate tour done of a property, and they'd seen my other work. They asked if I did that kind of thing. Sure, absolutely, 100%. I now know in my head though, I've been using the 18-55 stock lens on this camera with the gimbal, mostly because it doesn't weigh that much and it doesn't really, because I'm really pushing the balance, especially as I rock the monitor on there. Basically it's just low weight, so I'm able to use it. I got that from Revidium, from his channel, and I knew going into doing a real estate tour, I needed something wider than the 18 gave me on this. So since I couldn't order anything from Adorama or B&H because state lines were still shut down, I could go to Best Buy, and the only wide lens that they had in Best Buy that would one, it needed to be image stabilized, and I wanted autofocus. Those were two big things that I definitely wanted. They had this in stock. Now it was a little more expensive than if I ordered it online, but at the end of the day, it was under $400, and I've used it probably on about 6 different gigs so far, and I've been getting great results. Now, the fact that the f-stop starts at 4.5 is a little bit of a, it has hindered shooting in dark spaces. Now, I always bring a light with me when I'm shooting these indoor tours right now. I bring an Arri 650 with me, and I bring some gels, some diffusion, and some CTB, just so I can mess with my color temperature or bounce it off something. And so far, because I know how to use that light just to add more light to a room, I've had a lot of success. I also have been cranking my ISO probably up to around 2800 is where I start. And with the auto black balance, and I think I'm shooting Rec 709 just to save on color balance. I've shot both 4K and HD with it, and I'm happy with the results, and the clients have been happy with the results. Their videos are getting a lot of views, and more importantly, their product has moved. All the properties have moved that we've made videos of, and then I was able to do a tour video for a spa, And here's the thing is, these tight little spaces, you really need something wider to be able to do some kind of tour video. The only thing you need to watch out when you're using a wider lens is that fisheye effect that you start getting on the outside. That spherical distortion that you start getting on the outside rims, especially when you're going through a box, which is what a room is essentially. So I've been trying to figure out where is that best place to move through, whether you basically kind of keep a horizon, or if you are doing a movement, I always bring everything at kind of a circle. That way I'm going convex to how it's bending the room. So if you take the lens and you just go straight up and down through a room, you can start seeing that warping happening on the outside. So as you do that, you kind of understand, all right, that's how it's working. So when I'm dead square on a room, it looks really good. If I were off in that room and I did that, it wouldn't work quite right. You almost need to have a nice finishing point to pull that off correctly. So it's been a lot of fun playing with this lens and figuring out how to get shots that I'm really enjoying with it. But overall, I've really enjoyed shooting with it. Now, I've used it on the Canon T6i a few times, and there's definitely more distortion on the outer rim with that crop sensor, the APS-C sensor, compared to the Super 35 that I've noticed so far. And I'm not using the EFS push on this. I'm just leaving it straight on as I put it on there. I would not suggest shooting people with this lens at all. I mean, if you're shooting a crowd of people and you're getting a wide shot, fine. But if you're shooting marketing content for a client, you really need to keep them almost dead center, especially if you're doing movement. That's one thing that I find. You have to keep them dead center of the frame, because as soon as they start getting off, it's a little wonky, and you almost need to keep their face a little more towards, because if they start getting like this, it starts elongating the face so much and it looks a little weird. So I wouldn't suggest having talent on this super wide. Like, you start going into the 16 millimeter, 14 millimeter on it, and you won't have quite as much distortion, but obviously you're not going to get as much of the room. It really depends on the space that you're working in and how much you can get back. I have found that even in shooting in a smaller space, I shot in a house that was 2,500 feet, and I shot in a house that was like, what, 11,000 square feet. So obviously the 11,000 square foot was a lot easier to move through because I didn't have to tuck up against the wall. I still find myself getting really tight to be able to get shots done. Bathrooms are always a challenge because of mirrors. But I'm starting to figure out ways and tricks, things to use. So I think it's been a great little purchase. I've definitely got my money back from it. So I want to know, do you have the 10 to 18 millimeter? Are you planning on getting one? Do you shoot real estate tours? What wide lens do you use? Anything you'd like to put in the comments below? Love to hear from everyone. Are you planning on using this lens with this camera? Am I crazy for using this lens with this camera? Go ahead and leave the comments below. We'd love to know. Anyway, my name is Tobias Molik from Live Video Productions. We make epic videos for epic companies. Peace! Anything else I want to put in about this this lens? All right, that's it, cut.